The trick worm.
Hey, I've always preached that a Nico rig ain't nothing but the same wacky rig we've been throwing forever and ever, amen, with a nail weight in the head. Well, Ronnie's actually convinced me there is a difference, so here it is.
So a Nico rig, the way I throw it, what's up, dog? Gene. What's up, boo?
Say what's up, boo?
Gene threw a swim jig on 15-pound line. Got whooped at Falcon. Got whooped. Got embarrassed. Embarrassed me.
Chase a squirrel.
Squirrel. Nico rig, go.
Nico rig is a trick worm. And here's the way I rig it. I'll throw a 16th or an 1/8 ounce Nico weight, which looks like a microphone, and you just shove it in the butt, and then you wacky rig it. And so you throw it out there, and I throw it on a spinning pole, 20-pound mainline fluoro with about a 12-pound leader, and I throw it out there, and I'll let it hit bottom, and then I'll find my bait, and then I'll drop my tip down about 1 inch and just kind of shake it. And so basically, the worm stands straight up like this and just kind of inches along or whatever. And that deal's good. That morning that it was 19 degrees, we caught like, I think 11 or so. And it was freaking 40.
So let me make sure I got this straight.
Go ahead.
It's an inch worm, not an inch, but an inch worm rig.
Worm.
Yeah.
So a Nico rig is an inch worm rig, and you got to throw it on a spinning pole. And you're trying to act like the little inch worm that you play with when you was a kid.
When they're eating inch worms, which is
yeah, no, I don't care how good they bite it. I'm out, bro. I'll just go 0.
You threw it yesterday, didn't you? You caught 6 on it. More than most people in here caught this week. See what I'm saying? Nico rig. Dude.
He's gonna catch more than me, I guarantee you, because I ain't throwing.
With a nail in the end is a
But it's not a nail. I'll use like
it's a little it's a little different. It is a little different.
It's a nail with a ball on the end of it. See what I'm saying?
And you're putting it in the
It's a Nico.
So basically, you got a shaky head screwed into the head of the worm, and you got a wacky rig hook. So you've got a heavier anchor that stands it up like that, and then you pull on it in the middle. It makes the worm fold up.
I'm telling you, it's bad. It's kind of gay, but it's it catches fish.
Ain't no kinda about it.
I'll throw it on a spinning pole because I can fish boat docks and fling it under the docks and stuff. You know.
What color?
I've been throwing red bug or tomato. Or
Yeah, yeah.
I've been throwing red bug.
You know, we've all been having to do a lot more finesse stuff than we want to because the bite's been a little tough. But the more that water gets over 60 degrees, the more of that finesse stuff. Finesse stuff can always be real good when they're spawning. But the more you can just kind of go fishing.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Like you can just go out there.
You don't want to throw
No.
that.
And you can go out there and throw a spinner bait or a buzz bait or a, you know, whatever, and just kind of go fishing. And the more that water gets stabilized over 60 degrees, the more that just going fun fishing will come into play and be real effective.
And they should be biting a frog right now, just so y'all know. Has anybody caught anything on a frog this week?
I caught a frog yesterday.
You caught a frog?
What happened in the tree?
What was you throwing in the trees for?
Well, it wasn't mine. It was one I found.
Oh, you caught the frog that was in the tree.
Oh.
I got you.
Okay.
I caught a 2.5 pound.
That's a tree frog.
Not here, but I have done it.
So Ronnie actually caught a fish on a frog this week. We went to another lake and went filming a
Had 2
video.
bites and caught 1.
Yeah, he had 2 bites to blow up, and the water was 55 degrees.
Which is my magic number. So 55 is when I'm 56 and it's sunny, I'm tying on a buzzbait and a frog. Guaranteed, 100%. And so, like, for me, in my conditions for my buzzbait, the water's real dirty, I'm going to throw black. If it's not as dirty, I'm going to throw white. If it's blue, like today, where I caught my buzzbait fish, it was bluebird skies, there's a little chop, and it was just black water. And I caught them on a black buzzbait with a big blade.
Well, sometimes when that, you know, we talk about this, and one of the misconceptions about topwater fishing in general is it needs to be overcast or whatever. And those high skies, black topwaters in high skies is kind of a thing, you know, because it creates a real good silhouette.
I had 1 slap at my frog today, and it was it. One slap, and I threw it pretty hard. But I was in some really pressured areas, you know, and but I threw it in some unpressured areas as well. I threw it in some of those top secret guide holes today too.
Top secret.
Have either one of y'all been up Shotgun Pass or the High Line right across from it up north on the West Fork? What's the water look like
I
out there?
haven't.
The last time I was,
That's the nastiest water on Lake Fork.
yeah, that's going to be the dirtiest of the dirty up there. Always is. I went way back in Garrett like a month ago just kind of out of curiosity to see how dirty it was, and it didn't disappoint.
I was in Board Tree this week.
My boat drafted a little bit shallower up there is all I'm going to say. You know what I mean? Like that water's thick, bud.
In September, I just had
It's a really good fall area, actually.
Yeah, it is.
I went through a little grass patch there about 75 yards on the right bank of the high line up there.
Yeah.
I went through on one trip through, caught 19 unders, come back through, caught 13 unders on the same trip back.
We caught some good unders today, like some this thick unders on a wacky rig.
Yeah, there's some fat fish in the lake right now. Is there anybody got any questions or anything? I know we're just kind of rambling up here.
Today, shallow water.
I caught
creeks.
They're in creeks. Yeah, most of them are in creeks. Some of them, yeah, that 3 to 6, and they were congregate and they were chasing bait. Saw a lot of bass chasing bait today.
Birds.
Do what? Birds were. Oh yeah.
Birds a lot, so.
Yeah, saw birds. And so that's a good point. So if I'm in these creeks and I do see birds, that's a big deal because that tells me the bait, they're not going to be there for no reason, you know.
Especially them old blue herons.
Yeah.
Them blue herons are back here in them pockets. That's a really
And
good
everywhere
sign.
we caught fish, we saw herons
Yep.
and whitebirds today. We caught fish in 3 areas. Well, caught fish were me and you talked about yesterday. Caught a 6-pounder in there.
I seen loon here.
Yes, the loon was in there. I was worried I was going to catch the loon.
Them loons will get back there in some shallow water every once in a while. I'll surprise you.
This is about 5 foot of water. We caught one almost 6 and about 5 foot of water on a square bill. On a little. So something else I want to talk about is when you're going into these creeks. So you got your creek. You know, you got your big arm. You got your creek, and you got these little like V groove pockets. You know, these like big enough to get 2 boats in. And those are little killer areas. When I see those, I'll back up right at the mouth of them and fish that like a drain or a ditch. Even if I don't see a big depth change or anything else, I'll back up, you know, and envision the mouth of that and square bill, rattle trap, chatterbait, something like that. And
Well,
fish
it
that.
is. It's a low spot. It's a depression. It is a little drain or ditch, and it's leading into that main creek channel that's running back there at some place. And if you can kind of find that area where it ties into that main channel, that can be real good.
And those pre-spawn grills, and I haven't really found, like, other than that, the one area today, I haven't found a good, like, I haven't found a good congregation of pre-spawn fish. You know, like back in the day, you'd pull up, you'd throw that rattle trap out there, and you'd catch a 6-pounder, and then you'd catch like 35 pounds. You know, I haven't really found that this year. So I haven't
haven't
found
either.
a real good congregation of pre-spawn
Next week.
fish. It could, I mean, they're already moving up on beds. Like they were chasing stuff on beds yesterday and today, you know. And you're right, it could be next week, but it should be this moon that we're getting right now we should have those big groups of fish sitting at the mouth of ditches and drains, and this full moon should do this right here, you know. This is the time of year, usually it's about the first week of March, that you're fishing a spot, you know, with a square bill or a rattle trap, and you go up there every single morning, you pull up there and you go, hey bud, I bet you $100 bill this first catch I catch one. First cast I catch one over 7 pounds. That should be the first week of March. And then there should be a magic day where you pull in there and all of a sudden there's 2-pounders there, and then you don't really get bit, and then you notice there's a lot of activity at shallow, and they've started to pull up on beds and stuff. But I haven't really found that. I have found creeks with a lot of fish, you know.
Seems like things have just been a little more spread out than usual. As
Yeah.
far as like the fish just never did really. I don't know if they didn't congregate in big numbers or they just didn't feed good enough to where you catch them in big numbers. But for sure, we haven't had that bite where you pull up to that one shallow creek channel and you make that same cast and you catch a bunch. Like that just has not really gone
Not for
down
me.
the way it normally does this year for me either.
Because of the cold.
I think it's because of the dirty water and the fluctuating water levels. You know, the whole deal of this pre-spawn period, we've been getting a lot of rain, and every time we get a lot of rain, they open the gate. So it's been going, the water level's been doing this, and it's just never been stable enough, I don't think, to let them just go and really get grouped up in one of those deals where you can make that cast, catch them.
What have they got the gates at now, do you know?
They're open. I don't know. I mean,
1.5 open. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
That's what they were telling me at the Liars Lodge this morning.
Jay Phillips said today, Jay's local around here, and he's always up to speed on the Fork Knowledge and friends with him on Facebook, so I see what he posts. He said something this afternoon about he talked to somebody at Sabine River Authority, and the gates are going to be open for the weekend. So I don't know how many. I don't know.
Man, they bit today, so it shouldn't be that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
That is not really like a real hardcore thing that everybody. How many of you have heard the rumor when the gates are open on Fork, the fish quit biting?
I'm not going to dispute this because these old guys that have been out here for 700 years, that's what they swear to, and I don't want to get beat up.
But I've had days when the gates are open when we catch them pretty good. I mean, it's not like a hard and fast rule.
Keith Combs
like-
had some days when the gates were open.
Oh boy, did he? Yeah. I mean, I think, does it reposition them? Does it change? I think these fish are really sensitive to water level change because Lake Fork is the biggest, most stable reservoir in the country. It does not have a river running through it, and it's like the biggest lake, I think, in the United States that doesn't have a river feeding it. So the water level just doesn't fluctuate near as much as it does on most lakes. I think these fish are hypersensitive to water level change because they don't experience it as much. So when they open those gates and that water level starts changing a little bit at a time, I think it repositions them. But if those fish if it's the time of year, like if they open the gates in April and May, we're still going to catch them. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to really matter. I don't know.
Are y'all finding any fish on swim bait, soft plastic swim bait?
Yes. Yes.
In the creeks in the banks? Or?
Yeah. So right now is
Yeah.
the time with that soft plastic swim bait, the convict, the poacher, with the flashy hooks, going to be really good.
That
small
poacher
smash
just
shell.
caught a 9-pounder yesterday on one of the Fish Life app spots out here, by the way. I got that text from a guy yesterday. Yeah, he was throwing. He was back in one of the shallow areas and throwing the poacher and caught a 9-pounder on that. So,
When they start getting shallow, they'll bite that thing. If you got a bass that's trying to spawn, that's spawning, you take that bluegill poacher and swim it by her, it's done. I'm talking about that sucker's gone.
yeah, it's
Guaranteed.
it's the time of year to start throwing the swim baits. I like the poacher and the baby poacher right now. When that water gets stabilized at 65 degrees and doesn't go back below it, I'll switch over to throwing the hollow bodies a lot. Still throwing the poacher too at that time, but that hollow body, once it gets over 65, it's got a real fast kick to it. The action's real fast. So it's probably just in my head. They probably bite that hollow body now, I don't know. But for me, I like to wait till the water temp stays over 65 on that hollow body. But that poacher is the deal right now. I mean, it's the one to throw.
It's something else.
And the convict, if you want to throw a big bait, you want to try to catch a over tomorrow,
Especially in that dirty
man,
water.
you get back in that like 60-degree water with that pearl white convict in that dirty water and just go to a slow. You can reel that thing so slow and it just does all this, you know. And that's a great bait to throw at this tournament to try and win the thing. It really is.
You know, and something else, real quick, I'll ramble a little bit, but you know, when we start talking about swim baits, you know, and chatter baits and that sort of deal, jackhammer makes a real translucent color, and I'm throwing in the dirtiest water on the lake and catching fish. You know, shad don't really change colors because of the water. I was actually in some as dirty a water as you can get today, and I don't know what you call them, but I call them little glass minnows, little flicker shad, you know. These bass were just like, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, these things are almost translucent. And these bass are just losing their mind after these little bitty shad, you know. That's something else to keep in mind, because what'll happen is this time of year, and I'm not saying that a solid color like a solid white or something doesn't have more of a drawing effect, but especially on a lake like Lake Fork when it's high pressured, a real natural color will catch fish.
There's
Year before last.
definitely something to be said for on a highly pressured lake. And make no mistake, Fork's got a lot of pressure this week.
This is the most pressured.
It's been really crowded all week long. And on a highly pressured lake, there's definitely something to be said for something the bass can't get as good of a look at. That's a big deal to me.
And it's just more natural, you know. That poacher, the bluegill color, the year before last, I wasn't throwing a poacher, but I was throwing something similar to it, and I was in some real dirty water up in Board Tree, and I caught like 3 or 4 fish over 8 pounds, and it was this time of year. It was spring break because
and the water was just as dirty as it is
Yes.
now.
And so the guy that I fished with Monday
It was warmer, but it was just as dirty.
was with me on a half-day trip, and we caught some good ones. We caught a good one on a frog and a good one on that swim bait, and I took him back at lunch, and I went back out by myself.
I remember this.
Yes,
And
and
we
I
talked about it,
freaking
yeah.
whacked them. I caught like, I don't know, almost 40 pounds, and I caught them on a bluegill, translucent bluegill colored swim bait, and just freaking chocolate milk water, you know. And so that vibration has a lot to do with it, and then the depth has a lot to do with it, I think, as well. Kind of like why I throw a buzz bait right now when the water may only be 55 degrees. They don't have but this far to go.
You're talking about fish that are in shallow water, condensed water column, versus in a lot of heavy cover, a lot of ambush points, versus fishing like more open water main lake stuff with a swim bait. When that happens, the dirty water can kill your swim bait bite because you're not going to bring it right next to them. When we're talking about fishing these spawning areas with a swim bait, you're dang near knocking on their door. I
Ditches
mean,
and drains.
and when it comes by, it doesn't matter how translucent it is, they're going to know it's in their house. And so it doesn't need to be, it can be a translucent color and still work.
You figure light hitch will work up that kind of dirty water with about
Yeah.
a foot and a half.
You could have stopped it. You could have stopped it. You figure light hitch will work.
Yeah. And so
The answer's always yes.
hitch is almost like a bluegill color. The smash tank hitch.
Light hitches. If you want to just go start swim bait fishing, you don't really know about it, just buy light hitch. It works in all watercolors. It works in all conditions. It's the color. Yep. Any questions? Tell y'all a little hot bait. You know, we talked about the poacher a lot going into this spring, and it's already catching some big fish like we said it would. He makes a baby poacher that you can throw on like a 5/0 hook, 5/0 belly weighted swim bait hook. You can throw it on that flashy swimmer if you want to. But that's, you talk about like for tournament fishermen catch some good unders and stuff, you know. That little baby poacher's got a deadly little action on it. They do have some downstairs here tonight, and it is like, it's kind of replacing all the other little swim baits for me. It's so good, and it's not just a tube with a tail. Like, it's a good looking swim bait. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's got the eyes, it's hand poured, it looks good. Like, it's a bad little dude.
Jingle have a box full of them today.
That's a bad son of a gun. The baby poacher. He's making a baby poacher as well. That's kind of came after the original poacher. That's out, and it's downstairs, and it's a bad son of a gun.
And with convict, you use a 10 or 12
10.
Convict, I use a 10/0 hook. I use 10/0 hook. The only thing I use a 12/0 for is the weedless 7-inch gizzard shad, which in all honesty I don't really throw a lot because it's real tall and not very wide. And I just like throwing the more compact body size bait in the heavy cover. If I'm gonna throw that gizzard, I'm throwing the line through because I'm usually fishing more open water. So I really don't ever use a 12/0 hook, honestly, very often. I mean, if I found myself throwing the 7-inch weedless gizzard, I would, but I really don't do that very often.
I think right now is the time to get the convict out.
But yeah, today, yesterday.
Both.
If you're fishing it real shallow, I'm going to want to go with, I've always used the suspend strips. You can use lead tape, but use roughly the same amount as this. To me, like 3 Storm suspend strips is like the ideal for those big 7-inch weedless baits. It's just enough weight to kind of help you keel it. And I'm not real good at rigging them dead straight. Here's the deal, guys. All those baits will swim true if you rig it like perfectly straight. But I'm not real good at that. I'm always in a hurry trying to get rigged up and throw it. So I just take 3 suspend strips and wrap it around the shank of the hook, and it gives it enough weight that I don't have to be just so perfect. I still got to rig it straight to make it run right. But when you get that much plastic, if you don't have something down there, if you don't rig it perfectly straight, that bait's going to do this on you. And so I had those suspend strips on there to keep that big swim bait keeled. But the 3 is the deal, because the 3 gives you enough weight to help keep it keeled. You still got to rig it really straight to keep it keeled, but it doesn't make the bait sink. Like, you can still, the big deal with that bait is how slow you can fish it. And so if you get too much weight, if you go by the belly weighted 10/0 hook, well, then the bait goes down and you can't fish it in that shallow water. That's the advantage. This dirty shallow water, this deep, I can take that convict and make it move this fast, and it never hits the bottom or gets bogged down in the grass and all that stuff. So that's kind of how I do it. But it's a great tool to throw right now. If you want to catch one big one, it's a great tool. No questions. We're on fire tonight. We're doing a good job talking about everything because we're answering all the questions before they ask them.
Yep.
That's what that means.
Black buzz bait. But we don't.
We're not supposed to talk about that.
I'm top water crazy.
Me too.
He is tough.
Me too. I'm crazy.
I bet if you went out there, yeah,
But
you're
I'm
not
married.
top water
Somebody
crazy.
married me though. That's what's.
I knew his mom.
Oh yeah. Oh Lord, I don't even want to know. I'm not sure if I want to know the person that's responsible for making that. Well, if y'all ain't got nothing else for us, I guess we'll let y'all slide on out of here. Know it's been a long one tonight. Y'all all good, all in, all done? Everybody ready to go catch some fish tomorrow? Well, hey man, good luck to everybody. Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. Thank Lake Fork Marina. See you. Appreciate it.